Hi guys, this is the 11th and the last episode of our DevOps learning series. Today we'll be discussing about cloud fundamentals for DevOps. Before we dive in, if you have missed any of our previous episodes, you can click the link above. If you want to learn DevOps and get globally recognized certificates, you can opt for a DevOps certification course. We have attached the link below in the description box. Alright, let's begin the video now. Alright, so let's talk about what are the cloud providers are there in the market, and then how can we discuss about those cloud overviews in terms of handling DevOps. So as we spoke so far in our series that DevOps is about the culture, the process, and there are various tools that DevOps engineers mainly use in order to automate things and then various operations that they perform on the infrastructure side of the house. Now let's talk about what are the clouds that are being famous in the market at this moment, and then they are being mainly used for the DevOps. So if you look at here on my notepad, so basically we are using AWS. Then there is something called GCP, which is a Google cloud provider, and then from Microsoft we are using Microsoft Azure. So these are the three providers which are mainly available in the market. Before that, before cloud was there in the market, we used to have the VMware workstations or VMware bare metal machines to deploy the virtual machines as a hardware of our infrastructures, and then we used to do that is a legacy method, right? But now after cloud coming into picture, which means that, so people think what is cloud computing is something, the cloud is there in the somewhere and then it is doing something. So basically it is not something a virtual reality kind of a thing, right? So cloud is nothing but a warehouses which are really present at some places. So which I mean, like mostly the places where the cooling systems and weather conditions are so nice, so that's where the data warehouses and the machines are being placed. So usually in the United States of America, that's where they have the lot of cloud providers regions. If I talk about AWS terms, so those are the regions where mainly their data servers are present. So those servers are present in the physical form, and that whatever the facilities that we get on top of it, those facilities are being deployed on those machines. So the machines are really existing. So there is nothing like a concept of cloud somewhere in the atmosphere and then doing things for us. No, it's a reality that there are machines which are physically available and present, which is working and performing the computation power for us, and then serving back the responses whatever we seek for, right? So they have the internet connectivity across the world. So all these internet connectivity and connectivity of the entire components are there in the physical line. So that's how it is going through. So these are the three major cloud providers which are there in the market. So the AWS was the first one from the Amazon who bought up this concept of cloud, and then they were like having a platform where they used to have IaaS, SaaS and PaaS, like infrastructure as a service, core platform as a service, and then software as a service. So all three type of services were available in the Amazon. So later then GCP by Google was a provider, and then Microsoft also came into picture. If we talk about few of the components of these cloud vendors and providers, so if we talk about compute powers, which are nothing but the CPUs, so EC2 is the one which is being used for the AWS in this case. Then AWS also has something called Lambda, which are nothing but serverless model of having compute engines available on the EC2 AWS side. Okay. After that, if we talk about storage, so for storage, AWS offers S3 buckets. So and then it also has ABS. So this S3 is nothing but object type storage. So when you want to have objects to be stored, so you can have those as a form of S3 buckets. And if you want to have a block storages, then you can use elastic block storages, EBS. If we talk about networking terms, so in the networking terms, AWS offers us VPC. Then it has something called Route 53. Okay, and then which is basically being used for the DNS. So what is VPC actually? It's a virtual private cloud. So if I explain this way, a cloud which is virtually present, they mark it, and then it has the availability zone. So let's say if we talk about in our AWS, right? So this is the, there are various of regions which are present. So inside a region we have the availability zone. So it can be like, let's say for example, US East 1 is a region. Inside a region we can have US East 1A, 1B, 1C. So those are nothing but the availability zones that are basically present. So this way you can just manage the zone. If you see it up here, so this is the zone that is currently available, and if you look at the naming convention of it, so it has appended with the main region, which is US East 1. So this is all the zones which are available for US East 1 region. So you see all are mostly outside India only. So majority of them. So it's like a United States location, US East 1, North Virginia, then Ohio, then California. So Asia Pacific, if we talk about, so in Mumbai we have the cloud data centers. That's where a couple of availability zones are present. One is in Kolkata and one is in Delhi. So these are the two local zones which are present for India. So just think like a VPC is a big set, and inside that set we have regions. In the regions we can have availability zones which are multiple depending on the region offering from the AWS in this case. Similarly, for GCP also, if we talk about compute, so they have virtual machines which are as equivalent to what EC2 of AWS is, okay, virtual machines. And then there is something called Azure functions, which are equivalent to Lambda functions of AWS, okay. In terms of storage, it has something called blob storage, so which is mainly famous as a equivalent of S3 bucket. And then Azure has something called Azure files. Yeah, so this I was talking about Azure, okay, yeah, soft, yeah. And then if we talk about the networking, so it has something called Azure VNet and then Traffic Manager. So these are the services which are being offered from the Microsoft side in the Azure platform. If we talk about GCP, so GCP compute has cloud functions and compute engines. So GCP has their own engines and then cloud functions too, considering the equivalent of what Lambda and Azure functions offers. And if we talk about storage, then it has the cloud storage and persistent disk. So cloud storage as an object, and then persistent disk also as part of the storage that Google offers. And in terms of networking, so it also has something called VPC, the concept of what AWS bought, virtual private cloud, and then it also has a cloud DNS. But the DNS in AWS is being known as a Route 53. So these are so these are the services of AWS. If you go here, this is the AWS account that I have created. You can also create your own free AWS account. It will ask for credit card or debit card just for the minimal subscription, which would be I think $1 or something. So once you do that, you have the account ready. You can Google it up, how do you create the AWS Web Services account. You will get the steps to create it. You can sign up. Once you go here, you will see all the services which are being listed as part of my account at this moment. So, and then if you want to search, let's say I search Route 53, I will be able to get, okay, this is the service of Amazon networking. This is what talks about the DNS configurations and stuff. So currently I have not set up anything, but if you go register a domain and then you check, all the networking related things will be present over here. Then we have a service called EC2 S3 buckets. So S3 bucket has the storages. That's where you can store as a object storage. Then EC2 is a service which are being stored as a compute engines. So if you go to the instances, you will see the instances which are currently available. So I was in Mumbai region, that's why I was not getting anything. But since I have the instances which are in the running state in the US East 1 region, so this is what I do see. So similarly, like you can have like Lambda functions. So these are the offerings of the services what AWS offers. So there are a lot of services and offerings which are present. You don't have to basically learn all of those, but as a part of the, if I talk about the cloud architect, right? So those people have idea about how does this component work, and whatever the situation is, depending on they can suggest, okay, this solution would be the best for your scenarios. So it depends on, so you don't have to like always you know you can say, okay, if you are giving for any interviews things, and you can just, you are okay to have the that I know about AWS and I have worked on few services, which is acceptable, because nobody is expecting you to learn all the services whatever the Amazon offers. It's like you should have a command on whatever you have worked in your so far in the career, right? So with the time, depending on the scenarios and the use cases, you will keep on learning those things whenever the opportunities comes, right? But you should have an idea about what is AWS, what is cloud providers, what is GCP. So those things are very important to understand in a way. Yeah, so if we just talk about, so in this today's session we will be talking about AWS majorly. We have the AWS account created. You can just create a Google account also, or Microsoft Azure account as well, in case if you want to leverage those. So the documentations are freely available, let's say Azure documentations. So you can find the documentations for Azure. And similarly for AWS also, there is an documentation for each service. How does the service work, and what are the listings and offerings AWS provide? We can go through that as well as part of the documentation. So you don't have to worry about it. Even the Kubernetes environment is also being offered by each of the cloud providers. So let's say, for example, Azure has something called AKS, Azure Kubernetes. Yeah, so here we will just see how does a EC2 instance look like, and how do you deploy an instance. So let's talk about how do you launch a EC2 instance. So I'll be launching like this, so let's say if I say cloud instance, I'll just rename anything. After that, you have to choose if you have any AMIs from where you would want to create your EC2 instances. AMI means like the images, the snapshot of any previous working setup that you have done. So those setups you can reuse it. You don't have to recreate all these manual steps again. So better if you have any image that you have already created, and if you want to continue the work that you have been doing before and you stored as part of the AMI, so you can keep on continue using the same AMI for you. Okay, so but since I don't want to use any AMI here, so I will just say that I'll just use quick start. So for quick start, I will use Ubuntu machine, 64-bit architecture, x86. Okay, the instance type is T2 micro. So there are various other instance types which are present. Those instance types, depending on their category, the charges increases because they give you more power in terms of compute, in terms of efficiencies and durability and reliability. So those instances are basically being listed on the AWS documentations. You can just Google Amazon EC2 instance type. You will get all type of instances that Amazon offers so far. Since we are using the free tier, so just to understand, okay, how does it being deployed. So this is the instance that I'm using, T2.micro. Now it talks about the key pair. Key pair is being basically used to log into your EC2 machines from your any of the local machines. So let's say from my laptop, I don't have direct access to go to that server itself directly and then access it. So it's always recommendable to provide the SSH access to your peers who would want to access those servers. So usually they are being asked for the keys, right? So in that case, they can create their SSH public and private key pairs using keygen commands. And once they have it, they can import this public key to the as a key pair in the Amazon. Okay. After that, it asks for the security groups. Security groups are being mainly used to ensure the security to that instances, which means that any inbound and outbound traffic which is going to and fro from that machine will be controlled by the security groups. It's like one of the method to secure your instances. So not anyone else can access your instances. So at this moment I have a security group which I'll be using. If I compare the inbound rules for this instance, its security group, so I see that currently on these ports I am open to access from anywhere. In case you don't want to access it from anywhere, you can anytime set it to my IP address or something else. So let's say if I select this security group at this moment, and then 8 gigs of storage, and then just launch the instance. Okay, and here you will be seeing the launch logs. Okay, so this is the instance that you have launched. If you go here, and it will create an instance ID and the name that was given previously while creating the instances. Now if I talk about security here, so this is a security group that I am using. If I go here and edit the inbound rule. So let's say, for example, if I don't want not everyone to basically access this machine, so what I can do is, instead of custom IP, I can just pass on my IP. So if you Google what is my IP address, so whatever the IP address you will be using without or with VPN will automatically being reflected here as like an intelligent way to think like, okay, so this IP, only from this IP, if I try to SSH to 22, I'll be able to access it. So this way can control the security, it's because rather than setting it up from anywhere, you can SSH to this machine. So for testing purpose, we can do this, otherwise it's okay. So let's say if I set up my IP and then save rules. Okay, perfect. And if I go to this EC2 now, okay, and if I try to access this public IP of my EC2, so let's see, SSH, okay, I already logged into one of the machine. Okay, let's say SSH, and then if I try to access it, I should be able to access it because my IP address is being whitelisted automatically, is what has been provided to the security group. So currently I am logged in from my Mac local machine to the virtual machine, basically the EC2 instances. So if I check what kind of an instance it is, so you will see this is a Ubuntu machine that you have created with using EC2. So if you see the uptime, you see this machine was up 2 minutes back. So it just, and one user is being logged into this machine so far. All right, so this way you can you can basically log into this machine. Also, in case if you would want to explore the AWS in the terms of CLI mode, so you can set up AWS CLI programmability access. So those access can be done by via IAM role. So IAM role is basically being created for the users. So if you have, so I have a user called 𝐴𝐻𝐿, and this user has the access key actually. So this access key is being active. So this is currently 10 days old, and I have access to this access key, which is why I am able to authenticate and perform the actions whatever I would want to do it on the AWS via CLI utility. So in case if you are not okay explore via graphical way and somebody would want to explore the CLI way, they have to go to the IAM, and then for your user you have to set up the programmability access. Once you do that, you will be getting the secret key and access key. Those keys you have to provide into your AWS configurations. So AWS configurations are mainly available inside AWS directory. So in the AWS directory, which is a hidden directory in your home directory, has two files called config and credentials. So config file is basically referencing the region that you are logged into your AWS machine. So let's say if I try to say config. So currently I have two AWS accounts are linked. One is this configuration, one is this configurations. So this is nothing but called profiles. Okay, what profiles you have set it up? So this account of my AWS has the profile called *Agile. Okay, and the region that I am using is US East 1. So whatever the actions that I will be doing here on the CLI automatically will be done on the US East 1. But in case you want to perform any actions which is not in US East 1 or in some other regions, you can choose any regions after giving an argument in the CLI ---- region, and then you can change the region. Okay, and the credential files has my secret key and access key configured. So I don't want to show that because it's secret and confidential for the user to have. So this is basically helping me to access the AWS account in the form of CLI. Because if somebody is interested to in CLI, so the same actions of launching instance what we did on the UI, same thing we can do via CLI also. It's nothing other magic, Now second thing is what kind of an access privileges this user has. If I talk about the credentials of programmability, so this has a few permissions. So this access depends on based on the access that I have given so far. I am able to perform any actions to the AWS. So if I don't give permissions, there are chances that I may not be able to access the AWS for some resources. So you can restrict the access, you can set up the permission boundaries, which is not currently set up, and you can set up the CloudTrail logs also. So those things can be done with the help of tweaking the changes in the permissions. So currently, if you want to access the AWS resources with the help of CLI, so there is a command called AWS. Okay, let's say if I want to explore S3 as an object, so S3 is nothing but a storage. Okay, storage bucket. So I say ls, I want to list all S3 buckets which are present in my account. So I get 3 responses, which means 3 buckets are there. Now if I go to S3 and list down in the region US East 1, and I'm getting these are the 3 buckets which are currently present on my S3 buckets. If let's say I provide so currently it's no region, yeah. So if I say, so S3 is the it's not a region based service, but if a service which is a region based, so let's say if I can get EC2ls, instances, if a service which is the region based, and if you give some other region, and in that region if that service is not present, it will not list you those entries basically. So but S3 is not it's not a region, so it's basically giving me for any region that I choose, it is giving response for that bucket to be present, because it's not based on the region that is present. So however, the S3 is being created in that region, so it's like a regional and regionless. But if you try to access it via AWS CLI, so it is giving you the output depending on whatever the region that you choose. Okay. Also, let's say if you want to describe any EC2 instances, so you can describe like this. Okay, or any other component of your EC2. So let's say if I go to EC2 and go to AMI. AMI is nothing but an image that I have already created from any other EC2 machines, like a snapshot of a machine. So this is the AMI ID, which is a unique depending on whatever the AMI that I am going to create. So this is present here 852. So this command of AWS CLI is helping me to describe the image. Okay, and then this is the image ID that I am providing, and I'm choosing region here. And what is my query? My query is just to see the state of the image. Okay, so I can just filter down, or I can use JQ. If somebody is familiar with the JSON queries, they can use JQ after this, adding up a pipe, and then they can further get the information. So I just wanted to know the state of this AMI. So currently this AMI is available. That's where we are also getting the response available. okay, because I'm just filtering the state. If I would have filtered something else, then it would be giving me all other values, whatever is present. So inside images, if I want to check the architecture of AMI, I can fetch the architecture, or if I want to fetch the block devices, so I can so I was filtering the state if it is available or not. So let's say here if I change the region, then what happens? So currently it says that does not exist because this AMIs are region based. So if I change any other region, so that that there are chances, I mean it's purely fine if you have not created the AMI in a particular region, then it will not be listed because it's a regional services. So part of the regional service. So this AMI is only present in the US East 1 at this moment. That's where you are seeing the AMI is not available in any other region that you select. So you have to make sure always, sometimes if the resource does not list up, so just make sure that the region either coming from your configuration file or you are explicitly providing is correct or has that object or services available at the AWS side of the house. Okay, so this way you can describe any of the instances images. Now let's review this EC2 instance. If you want to run EC2 instances without the graphical way, what we did, we just launched the instance, right? But if somebody who does not want to do the graphical way, they want to launch an instance directly from the CLI, then how do they do this? So there is a command that they can use, is AWS EC2 run instances, and you don't have to worry about the commands. You can just Google AWS CLI commands. So you will get the references of of particular let's say if I go to user guides, command examples. Okay, so here if I say EC2, so you will get the references of all the commands that are available for EC2 instances. So there are a lot of commands, so you don't have to always remember it, but usually like describe command, list commands are there just to see the basics of it. Otherwise there is no need for learning all these commands to by heart, so it's okay. So this basically run instance, if I see this command here, right, if I explore run instances and if I open this, so this will describe that it will be helpful. So this will be used to launch the specified number of instances using an AMI for which you have permissions. So you don't have to go to your graphical user interface for EC2 and then launch an instance. So rather than, you can use it with the help of AMI. So this is the AMI that I'm using, and I want one instance, the count of instance, and what is the type of instance that you would want to create. After that, what is the key that you want to choose. So whatever the information was asked while we created it from the UI, the same informations you can provide via CLI, and then after that you can just launch an instance. Okay, so let me just launch it and then we will see. So let's go to EC2, go to instances. Okay, and then we'll just see. So you see this machine is being running, initialized just now. Okay, so this is what it is, and here once you create it, it will give you the instance ID that it is going to launch. So once you filter this instance ID, you will see, oh, this is the same instance that is just now being initialized or being created as part of our AWS CLI command that we have provided. You can just press Q and after that, that is done. So this is the way you can use AWS CLI in the form of creating the instances for you. Yeah. All right. Let's say if you basically would want to set up any web services using AWS, you can use S3 bucket static websites also. So how do you do that? Actually, for that you can set up servers. So in the EC2 instance also, let's say if we connect to this machine, public IP, I'll just say, let's say if I connect here. Okay, In order to have this, so I'll say sudo apt and update. First of all, I'll update the repo of my apt. Once that is updated, after that we'll be installing the Apache 2 services. So let's see. Yeah, so this is updated. Let's install Apache 2. Okay. After that, sudo systemctl start Apache 2. Okay, so by default, this machine should be able to access the port on port 80, should be able to execute, like giving you the response of whatever the Apache that you have set it up actually. So this is what this is how you can access the web services and you can deploy it. So it's giving me the response whatever it is coming up as part of the Apache 2 services. Okay, now let's say if in case you would to have the static websites, the content of static website, whatever you want to have it in your S3 bucket. So for that, what you can do is let's create S3 bucket using AWS CLI rather than using graphical user interface. So S3 bucket is listed under S3. So currently I have 3 buckets, which is demo, star agile, first bucket and stuff. Okay, so I can use command is the AWS S3 MB, then bucket name. So let's say if I want to create new bucket 1 US East 1. Okay, AWS S3 MB3. Yeah. Okay, so this I was executing inside the machine, but I can use here. Let's say S3 MB. Star agile score new underscore bug 1. Okay, so currently it is not letting me create the bucket. Some invalid bucket name error is coming. So what if I do let's say hyphen, if it accepts hyphen. Yeah, so the bucket is created. So if I just refresh it here, so you will see a new bucket is automatically being created. Now let me add some content to this bucket in order to host the website. So let's do this, AWS. Let's see if I have an index.html. Yes, I do have one index.html. So I'll just say that S3, AWS S3 website. I will index it to this my bucket, star agile new bucket. So this way it will basically nothing but it will just push the content of index.html. So it will just refresh it. Once it is done, so it is copied over to this website. So this content is part of the basically the index document that we have provided. So once that is done, you have to ensure that bucket policies has been set up, because without that you will not be able to. So currently block all public access is on, so you have to set this up to off, and then you can just say confirm, and then you can have a bucket policy. So bucket policy can help you what resources of your S3 you would want to explore. So we would want to explore the index HTML page, right? So for that you can have a bucket policy in place. So the bucket policy, I'll be just taking a reference from my previous bucket here. So this is the bucket policy that I'm using. Okay. Instead of that, I will just name it bucket source ARN. Okay, so I would want to give access only for bucket permission on S3 bucket get object. So any principal, so all the principals only for the get object, I should be able to access it actually. There is some error. Diagnose with policy has invalid response. Some issue with this policy because this was missing. Let me just save it. Yeah. So once I do that, I have the bucket policy in place, which will only letting me fetch the object. So this is basically, if you Google bucket policy, you will find what all bucket policies are there in the form of what does it mean in terms of permission. So you will get all the listing that what all actions that you would want to perform. So currently we are just fetching the objects from the static website of our S3 bucket. Okay. Now let's do this. Let's try to explore our website http / what is our bucket name? This is our bucket name. Okay, http / this bucket dot s3 hyphen website hyphen US East 1 dot Amazon AWS.com. So it says not found, so maybe the object is not available here. Let's just S3 copy HTML to this website. Okay. And now if we try to explore, yeah. So once that file has the content, so as soon as I refresh it, I see that index.html is present in my bucket. And once that is there, after that I'm able to access the basically whatever the content is present inside index.html, which I uploaded to the S3 bucket. So this way you can host a static website. So if you want to have any content that you would want to, you don't want the domain to be changed and things, you are okay whatever the domain and URL look like, you just want the website to be hosted. So this way also you can host a website. This is called static website hosting in the form of AWS S3 bucket that we are using. Okay. After that, let's monitor some logs actually. So for that you can use AWS CloudWatch. So CloudWatch can help you to monitor the metrics that is present for the AWS. So this is currently for AWS EC2 region. I am just fetching the metrics, what all metrics, like what all and metrics of your servers you would want to monitor. So it is giving me all the metric, let's say EBS write bytes. So all these are the metrics that is available, and later you can just set up a rule if this metrics cross something, then you are being alerted so that you can take actions on the appropriate time manner. So this can help you to fetch the logs. Then there is something called CloudTrail, which is nothing but auditing on your AWS instances or machines, whatever the services you are using, you can set up a CloudTrail. So that is also being done. So like depending on the use cases of people who are having it, so and based on the pricing also, you have to make sure that if we are storing more and more data, then the price will also shoot up based on the hourly basis and stuff. So once you create that trail, it will help you to get the auditing on your AWS instance, that whatever the people are doing. Okay. Now next thing is we will be launching the monitoring via Prometheus and Grafana. So for that I am using this machine 73. Yeah, so this is my machine which is having if I just access this machine here, which is having Prometheus and Grafana and Node Exporter installed. So the steps you will find it on Google. If you search it, how to install Prometheus in Ubuntu. So you will fetch the steps and you can just follow the steps, whatever it says, Since I have already performed these, I just wanted to showcase here how does the monitoring look like. So if I just check the status of Prometheus, PromQL or Prometheus, see. Let me just go to /opt. Yeah, so this is where my Prometheus folder is, and if I go to Prometheus /prometheus.yaml, so this is where my scrape config is. So scrape config is basically nothing but fetching the scrape metrics which are being listed on this address. So currently on port 9090 we have Prometheus metrics which are being scraped, and then for node exporter also another utility that I have also installed. You can find out the steps to install node exporter, because node exporter is being mainly used for node based metrics, let's say CPU usage or memory usage and stuff. So those node based metrics, cluster node based, those things are helpful with the help of node exporter, so which is by default running on port 9100, and Prometheus is running on port 9090. So if I go up here and then let's say to this machine, whatever my machine is, okay, this instance, and say 9090, so you will see the Prometheus being listed here, because on this port Prometheus is running on this server. So it will take some time because it's locally being hosted, right? So currently you see the node exporters and Prometheus. These are the two endpoints which are being listed as part of my Prometheus. So Prometheus is like it's a monitoring tool which can help to scrape the metrics, and then it can then push the metrics to whatever the source that you would want to take it from. So Prometheus can be a source of your metrics. So here I'm using Grafana on the same machine on port 3000. So Prometheus is sending the metrics to this machine, and then I am building up a chart and a graph here. If I check the connections, so currently I am connected to my Prometheus servers. So this is being used as a connection to my Grafana. So once that is there as a data source, I should be able to get the dashboards created after that. So currently if I see data source, I have already set up this data source which is Prometheus, and from there I am just fetching the metrics, and after that I am building the dashboard. So this is mainly being used to monitor things, and this is widely being open and used at this moment in the industry, that everybody for the monitoring purpose they are going with the Prometheus and Grafana setup. So you should be aware about how to achieve that. So once that Prometheus setup is done, then you can set up Grafana. For Grafana also you will find set steps on the Google. If you check the systemctl status Grafana, you should be able to see the services running. It's not showing up for some reason. Status Grafana server, yeah, its name is Grafana server. So the server is currently running and listening on the port 3000, whatever it is basically being listed. Okay, and then once you see the metrics which are coming up, you can just list down those metrics. Like for example, if you want to see the targets, so targets of Prometheus can be seen like this, or you can use curl command also on this machine to fetch the this API, curl target API. So that will also list the targets which Prometheus are being listed at this moment. And if I say netstat, if I grab the port 3000, so Grafana is running on port 3000, 9090. Prometheus is running on port 9090, and 9091 is being used for my node exporter, which is not showing up here. It's okay, but that is also currently running on my machine. So so basically I would wanted to showcase that with the help of Prometheus and Grafana, you can export the metrics. So once you have a data source which is connected to your to your, let's say if I see curl if I say curl 9090 targets, yeah, so this will basically list me all the on this 9090 Prometheus, what are the this query, basically nothing but a node which is coming as a node exporter. So this is the metric that I would want to monitor. So here for this I have created a dashboard. If I go here, so this is my dashboard. If I click on edit, you see this is the query that I am using for Grafana to provide me the rate of this node CPU. So currently my CPU is single core, and this is the rate of that CPU is being overutilized or underutilized depending on the use cases that you are performing. So this way you can help to analyze and then you can change the chart and the time series and stuff. So that can kind of give you an idea about monitoring. If it goes as then reaches a particular threshold, after that it will be alerting. You can set up an alert and monitoring. So you should be aware about how does a Grafana look like, how does a Prometheus look like, and node exporters. The installation is easy because you will find the steps. It's just that the connectivity of all three and how are they being used and being helpful for the monitoring, you should be aware about for any DevOps. So far, if I summarize in this session, so we have discussed from the cloud provider vendors, various cloud providers, and then we jumped into the AWS, the services of EC2, Lambda functions, and S3 buckets, and security groups, and CloudWatch, and Route 53. So there are a lot of variety of services which AWS offers. Then we reviewed about how does static websites are being hosted, how do you access the EC2 machines from the AWS CLIs, and after that we looked into the monitoring systems like Prometheus, Grafana, and node exporters. So that can be helpful in order to monitor the stuffs, and then later depending on the use cases of the company that they would want to pursue in terms of monitoring, they would want to set up advanced monitoring or rules based, so they can be alerted, and they can then after that with the help of PagerDuty, they can have systems like which will be automatically being alerted. So that is what we have in this session so far to discuss about. Yeah. All right, that's a wrap for this chapter and also for our DevOps learning series. If you have got any questions and concerns, you can put them in the Discord channel. We have attached the link below. Till then, keep learning, keep smiling, keep growing.